Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Johnny TCG video. I'm Johnny TCG. I'm happy to see you here today. It's been a little bit since my last upload, but I'm happy to be here, giving you a Green Uta video in the great set of OP13. Now, as most people know, OP13, there's three big dogs in this set. We've got Red Blue Ace, we've got Green Zora, we've got Black Emu, but I think there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of fun to be had with some off-meta leaders. This is like going to be something that is not probably going to win any tournaments anytime soon, but I really do think there's a lot of strong leaders in this game that just can't get quite over the hump compared to those other three, but I'm happy to explore them. And hit that subscribe button if you want to join me on this journey. Today we're going to be covering starter deck 11 Green Uta. I'm going to do a deep deck profile, then I'm going to do a giveaway for a custom leader card. You're going to want to stick around for that, of course, and then we're going to take this deck to the sim, see how it does, and then talk about it afterwards if you're new to the channel. Thanks for choosing my video today. Editor, roll the deck profile. So for those that don't know, Green Uta is a 5-life, 5,000 power leader with the film typing. She has the ability of Don times 1 once per turn. When attacking, reveal the top card of your deck. If that's a film card, you may add it to your hand. Now that is a pretty simple leader ability, you know? It's literally just give a Don, swing, is it a film card, add it to your hand. Very simple, but very strong. You're able to amass a really big hand size by just doing this almost every single turn. There are a lot of cards in this deck that synergize with this leader ability, and for the most part, almost every single card in this deck is a film type, so you're almost never missing. I say almost never, but in the games there were a couple times where I missed and I was like, what the heck, what are the chances of me doing that back to back? But alas, this is a really good leader ability. It's not game breaking, it's just a really solid leader. Being a 5-life leader is great too. Moving on to the deck list, first up we have Gordon from starter deck 16. This is just a 2-cost 0-power chump blocker with 1 KF counter. He also has the ability of when your opponents attack, you may trash any number of music type cards from your hand. Music type cards from your hand, and then give a leader or one of your characters plus 1,000 power during this battle for every card you trashed. Now, we only run one music card in this deck, and it is I'm Invincible, and we are almost never going to trash an I'm Invincible to use this ability. So his ability, not really that relevant, at least for me, just usually using him as a chump blocker. I'm running 3 copies of the starter deck 16 Monkey D. Luffy, 2 cost, 3,000 power, mostly being used as a 2k counter here. He does have the ability, if your Uta is rested, this character does gain plus 1,000 power, but even with that, him being a 4,000 power body doesn't really do much for us. This is just a searchable 2k really. Up next, I have the OP02 Film Nami, 3 cost, 5,000 power, on play and when attacking Don times 1. You may look at the top 3 cards of your deck and you may add a film card other than Nami to your hand. This is great, especially when you combine it with your leader ability and then you're doing 2 card draws in a single turn. Of course, it does require a Don committed to it, but there's a lot of ways we can restand Don and just manipulate our Don so that we can take advantage of this ability. I really like this card early game. Up next, we have another starter deck 16 card. Starter deck 16 really gave Green Uta a lot of support. 3 cost, 4,000 power, 1k counter, Charlotte Katakuri. He has the ability of if your leader is film and then you have 6 or more rested cards, this character gains plus 2,000 power. So he is a 3 cost, 6,000 body before you really know it. This is a great card to get out early in the game, and before you know it, you'll be swinging 6,000 with him. The next 2k counter in this deck is the 4 cost, 5,000 power Sanji from EBO1. He has the ability of Don times 1 your turn. For every 3 rested Don cards on your field, this character gains plus 1,000 power. This is a solid ability. I'm more so using him because he's a searchable 2k, but there's definitely reasons to play him out and opportunities for that. Mostly just being used as a 2k counter for me though. Now we're getting in the new support from OP13. We have 4 cost, 5,000 power, 1k counter Uta. This is such a good card, folks. On play, set up to 2 of your Don cards as active. Then you can't play a character with a cost of 5 or more from your hand to the field. Not that big of a deal. Playing this on curve feels so good. And then on KO, play up to 1 character with a cost of 5 or less from your hand to the field as rested. That is amazing, folks. I love playing her down on 4 Don, restanding 2 and then swinging 7,000 with leader, getting a card draw with leader ability. Then on KO, there are so many bodies you can cheat out, and it just makes things really awkward for your opponent. 4 cost Sanji, 3 cost Katakuri, 5 cost Sanji, 5 cost Helmeppo, 4 cost Zoro. There's just a ton of options. This is going to be a big nuisance for your opponent to deal with. Absolutely love it in this deck. Next up, I have another card from OP13. This is the 4 cost, 5,000 power, 1k counter Zoro. On play, if your leader is Film or Straw Hat Crew, you get to add up to 2 of your Don cards that were rested as active. Then he has the secondary ability of end of your turn, set this character as active. That secondary ability makes things really annoying because your opponent is going to have to use removal to get rid of him, unless they rest it with a card like Silver's Rayleigh or Dead Man's Game, of course. I'm only running him at 3, but if you told me you ran him at 4, I would not call you crazy. Next up, I've got a card that I haven't had a ton of use in my games with, and so maybe this could be on the chopping block or just shifting around ratios. 4 cost, 6,000 power, Uta from starter deck 16. No counter is definitely a bummer. She's a blocker, then she also has the activate main ability. Once per turn, you may trash one film type card from your hand, then you give your leader or up to one of your characters one rested Don card. Solid ability, don't get me wrong, but trashing a card from hand feels bad, and oftentimes when I would normally play her off of the 7 cost Luffy, I'd rather play like the 4 cost Uta or the 4 cost Zoro. So I haven't been using her a ton, and maybe just more testing's needed to decide if she's really needed in the deck. Next up, I've got the 5 cost, 7,000 power Sanji from OP13, another one of the best cards from OP13 for this deck. On play, set up to 2 of your Don cards as active. Then at the end of your turn, if your leader has Film or the Straw Hat Crew type, set up to 1 of your Don cards as active. Now that second ability isn't really relevant for our leader, but that first ability is of course great, getting him out on 5 Don, then restanding 2, swinging 7,000 with your leader and getting leader ability to draw a card. That's always a great time. Depending on what Don you're originally at, like what number of Don you're at, you can cheat out other bodies after you restand this 2 Don. Just overall a great card in this deck. I definitely think I should bump this up to 4, and I'll tell you later on in the deck list what card I'm thinking about cutting. Next up, we have Helm Eppo, a Film Navy card, 5 cost, 6,000 power with 2k of counter. This is mostly going to be used as a 2k counter, but could also be cheated out with the 4 cost Uta's on KO ability. So there are times where you may actually play this out, but I rarely, if ever, would play this out just on its own. The 6 cost, 6,000 power OP13 Law is an absolute menace in green Zoro and yellow green Law, but in green Uta, unfortunately, I don't think he's that great. He's got 2 abilities. First, if you have 1 or less life cards, this character gains blocker. Fine. And then on play, you may return 1 character to your hand, play up to 1 character with a cost of 5 or less from your hand as rested. Now that does sound like a really good ability, but the thing is, we don't play any searchers, we don't play any small bodies that we really want to bounce back to our hand. The only thing that we're going to be bouncing back to our hands are like 3 cost bodies like Nami, Katakuri, Uta, Zoro. And I don't really want to do that, you know? So I have not found a lot of value with this card at all, and I am definitely going to be cutting it in like my 2.0 updated version of this list. What I'm going to cut for it, probably another Luffy, probably another Shanks, maybe 2 more Shanks, you know? Maybe another Sanji. These are all great choices. Just, I have not been getting much value from this law. If you like them though, definitely let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear your thoughts. 2 copies of the OP2 Monkey D. Luffy, 7 cost, 7,000 power. As I just mentioned, this should probably be bumped up to 3. He has blocker, and then he also has the ability of on play, play up to 1 Film or Straw Hat Crew type card from your hand. That's a cost 4 or less. Our perfect targets for this are Uta and Zoro. They both allow us to restand Don, and after we restand Don, we can then swing with leader and get leader ability, which is great. Next up, I have starter deck 16 Shanks, 9 cost, 11,000 power. On play, KO up to 1 of your opponent's rested characters. Pretty simple ability, really good ability, especially in certain matchups. I definitely think I need to bump this up to at least a 3. We do a lot of searching in this deck. We could do a lot of card draws, so I don't know if you need to go up to 4, even though he is really good in certain matchups, but I definitely think you should play him at more than 2. I'm really anti-playing non-film type cards in this deck just because whiffing on your leader ability feels so bad, but Dead Man's Game from OP12 is just so strong not to include. It has 2 abilities. First, you may rest 3 of your Don cards, rest up to 2 of your opponent's characters or Don cards, so this is a great finisher of course, and then it also has the ability of counter, give 3,000 power to your leader. That's just too solid for me to turn down. I include 2 in the deck. Maybe 3 would be a fine option as well. Just an overall great card. Next up, I have New Genesis, a 1-cost event that is really unique. The reason it's unique is it's a look at the top 3 cards of your deck for a film type card and add it to your hand. Then you get to restand that Don you just used as active. So technically it's free, which is pretty crazy, you know? Just a good 3-card search. Not a lot to say about that one, folks. And then last, but certainly not least, we have the 3-cost event from Starter Deck 11. This is I'm Invincible. You get to set up to one of your Uta as active. So if you're picking up what I'm putting down, you're going to use this to go for game, just like the event with Zoro. Zoro is the one that is more notorious at this point for that restand event between that and leader ability, but Green Uta was the OG to be able to restand herself and then swing big. I love doing this. You're going to see in the games. This will just win you games. It just is amazing, folks. And it also has a trigger of give up to one of your leaders or characters plus 1000 power for the turn. Solid, but rarely will you probably use that. There was a new Shanks 10 drop 12,000 power that was released in OP13 as well. That would work in this deck hypothetically, but I just don't see the synergy with it. You get to restand all of your Dawn on play, which is amazing, don't get me wrong, but then you can't play characters out from your hand, and so you're really just left to divvy up your Dawn and swing really big, which, don't get me wrong, in certain circumstances can be really good, but in other circumstances doesn't provide enough value to warrant using all 10 of your Dawn to establish him. Let me know what you think about this card in this deck in the comments below, though. I would love to hear your thoughts. And just let me know your thoughts on the entire deck in the comments down below. I love getting your feedback. I think this deck is really fun and you should give it a try on the sim, but maybe you should consider cutting out the 6-cost law. And if you do, let me know. Or if you don't, let me know as well. Before we get into the games, of course I have a giveaway for you today. If you're new to the channel, we do giveaways in just about every single video. Today we're going to be giving away a custom Green Uta leader using art from the One Piece Treasure Cruise game. I am not the artist. I'm not selling this. This is just a fun personal fan project of mine. All you have to do to enter the giveaway is 1, leave a like, and 2, leave a comment. It's as simple as that, folks. Then if this video gets 30 likes in the first 24 hours, right, we need to get 30 likes in the first 24 hours. So I need your help for that. Everyone needs your help for that if they want to enter the giveaway. All you have to do, like, comment, and it could be yours. I'll randomly choose a US-based commenter and send it to you completely free. And if you want to make my day, if you want to make me smile, stay up to date with the content, consider hitting that subscribe button down below. It's free, it's easy, it's painless. Why wouldn't you do it, folks? Alright, with that being said, editor, roll the gameplay.
Our first game of the day is going to be against a blue-green Zanji, starter deck 12. Now, before OP13 came out in the West, people were talking like maybe this is going to be a sleeper pick, but since OP13 has come out, I haven't really seen a lot of people playing them. We'll see though. We are going to be on the odd curve. We'll start out with the new Genesis Search, which will take the Gordon blocker, but I honestly didn't even need to use that turn. I might as well have waited till the next turn to play it just to see what we drew off the top of our deck. That's something that someone taught me once, is that new Genesis doesn't need to be played on turn 1 because, I don't know, why would you? You don't really need it. We're going to start out with a 5,000 power swing into their life right away, and then with 3 Dawn left up, I'm thinking we go with the Nami Searcher. We won't be able to search with her, but we will establish her to search with her next turn on her when attacking ability. They're going to counter out of that 5,000 power leader swing, and so I'll just play out the Nami and pass it to them. 4 Dawn up for them. This could be a strong turn for them. They're going to play out the 3-cost Dracula Mihawk, cheating out the Cavendish with it, bouncing back that Mihawk to hand, and restanding the Cavendish. We'll take that. We get the I'm Invincible. For 5 Dawn, our typical play is this 5-cost Sanji when we have it. We're going to swing with Nami doing a search and drawing the 2k counter Hamepo. Sanji lets us stand up 2 Dawn as active, which is always amazing. 5,000 into their leader with our Nami, and then we also have a Dawn up to do 6,000 with our leader, and then we also will be able to draw a card off leader ability. Before I do that, I will use new Genesis though. I'm leaning towards taking the Katakuri. Could be a good swing later on in the game, but Gordon, I might need a lot of blockers just to survive because Zanji can really go aggressive. Off our other new Genesis, I'm going to take the 4-cost Uta, which will be great to cheat out with the 7-cost Luffy. Then I'll swing 6,000 with our leader. We draw into that 6-cost Trafalgar Law blocker. 6,000 into 5,000. Are they going to give me a counter? They did take that attack earlier in the turn, and they will counter out of this one. Not wanting to go down to 2 life makes perfect sense. I'll pass it to them. With Sanji's ability, we restand Adon as active, even though we don't really have any use for that part of the ability. They're going to be at 6 Dawn here, and the new 6-cost Secret Rare Luffy from OP13 is going to hit the board. It allows them to restand 4 Dawn. That has double attack as well and works perfectly with their leader ability, so I need to be really careful about that. They're going to swing now 6,000 with Cavendish into our Nami. It's tempting to keep this Nami alive. I only have 1 2k counter in my hand though. Do I really want to give them multiple 1ks? That feels kind of bad. I hate to let Nami go like this, but I'm gonna let her go. They were gonna be able to swing with leader and Cavendish into her again, and I just simply don't have enough counter in my hand. Despite having a ton of cards, I just don't have the counter to keep her alive. I'd rather keep that 2k counter in my hand to protect my life potentially. Now they're just going to swing 5,000 with their leader into our leader. This is great news for us. They're not going to use their leader ability here. I think this is fine for us to just 1k counter out of with a Gordon. And then for 4 Don, they're going to play out Arlong from OP06. This is going to prevent our leader from attacking next turn, which is definitely a bummer. So annoying, because not only does it prevent our leader from attacking and just putting pressure on them, it also prevents us from utilizing our leader ability, which is so annoying. That leader ability helping us draw cards is so important, and we're trying to draw cards right now because we have we have some counter in hand. I'm being a little bit dramatic, but we don't have as much counter as I would like. I'm going to start out with a 7,000 power swing into their Cavendish with our Sanji. I imagine they'll counter out of this if they can. They do only have 4 cards in hand though. They'll give us the 2k to get out of that. Now I'm going to go the 7 cost Luffy into the new OP13 4 cost Uta. Uta allows us to restand 2 Don, and so I'm going to play the Gordon blocker out. I had the choice there between whether or not to play out the Gordon blocker and play that out with the 2 Don, or I could have given that 2 Don to Sanji and maybe swung into the Cavendish. Maybe I should have done that. Maybe I should have done that. You can let me know what you would have done in the comments down below. Do you think it was better to establish the Gordon blocker or to swing a 9,000 power swing into the Cavendish? They're going to start off right away swinging 7,000 with their double attack Luffy into our life. I'm just going to block with Gordon there. Next, a 7,000 power swing with Cavendish into our life, 7,000 into 5,000. This one I'm more inclined to take just because it's not double attack, of course. They're going to be able to draw 2 trash 1 off the Cavendish. Then they play out the 3 cost Vivi from EBO2. That's amazing in this deck, allowing them to draw more cards. They're going to swing 5,000 into us now with their leader, meaning they're not going to use leader ability. This is the second time they've chosen not to use leader ability, which is really interesting. That's not what I would have expected. I would have expected them to restand their double attack Luffy and swing big into us. But for 4 Don, maybe they have another Arlong. Maybe they have another 4 cost character that fits pretty well here. We'll see. We are going to counter out of that 5,000 power leader swing with that Katakuri. We only have 5 cards in hand. How did this happen, folks? What happened to our big hand size? Oh my god. An 8,000 power swing with Arlong into our life is an interesting choice. We do have our 7k Luffy blocker up though, and so I'm thinking we just block with the Luffy and then 2k counter out of that to keep it alive. Too valuable to let it go right now. We'll block, we'll counter with Helmeppo. 2 Don left up for them. Do they have a blocker perhaps? A Koshiro would go nice here. Oh, not a Koshiro, a Vanderdecken. Oh my god. They're going to be able to pop either our Sanji or our Luffy with Vanderdecken's ability. They do have to trash a card from hand, but wow, I did not see that coming. We did get another 7 cost Luffy top decked, which is pretty cool. We're going to be able to play that out along with another 4 cost Uta again, and then another 2 cost Gordon if we like. I'm going to start out by swinging 6,000 into Cavendish with our Uta character. They will 1k counter out of that. Then we're going to swing 7,000 with our Luffy blocker into the Cavendish. I really want to get this off the board, preventing them from getting unlimited card draw, basically. They're going to counter out of that one too, but now they only have 1 card in hand. Should I be greedy here and only swing 6,000? If they have counter, they'd be able to save it, and that could be huge for them, but they don't, so they let it go. That's great news for us. That remaining 2 Don, we play out a Gordon blocker with. We did draw a Nami off of leader ability, which isn't really that important right now. Kind of a bad card to find at this point in the game, but it is what it is. They're going to start off swinging 7,000 with Luffy double attack. I'm going to take that, and we get a 2k counter Helmeppo, and then we also get the Luffy. That's pretty solid. I mean, it's decent enough. Happy to have some counter in hand. This is going to be an awkward rest of the turn though, depending on how they use leader ability. They can bounce that Vanderdecken back to their hand and then use that effect over and over again. They're going to swing 6,000 with Arlong into our rested Uta. Now the Uta, if we let it go, we're going to be able to cheat out a body, which is pretty rad, and that's what we're going to do. I'm going to cheat out the 3 cost Nami. Now they can pop that with a Vanderdecken if they want. But I think it was worth using that ability there to establish a body instead of the Uta. I wonder if they didn't read that card or if they knew what they were doing and maybe I just don't see the vision yet. We'll see though. They did get a card technically out of my hand. They're going to swing 6,000 with their leader into that Nami. I do have a 2k in my hand. I think it would make sense for me to counter here to keep this Nami alive. They're going to bounce back the VV, not the Vanderdeck, into their hand. That'll help them get card draw. They're going to restand their double attack Luffy. Then 6,000 into 5,000. I will just 2k counter with the Luffy and keep that Nami alive. They're going to drop that 3-cost VV back down and draw 2 more cards. This is a nice combo for Zanji, especially later on in the game. They just counter out and then they get those counter cards right back by playing out the 3-cost VV, and then they bounce the VV back to their hand and do it all over again. Then they're going to do a Perona search. Off the Perona search, I hope they don't find a Dead Man's Game. They're going to find a Kawamatsu. That's all right. I really just don't want them to find a Dead Man's Game because that can end the game really quick. They do still have 5 active Don to work with. They're going to swing 7,000 now with Luffy into Nami. It's tempting to block out of this just because we can put a lot of pressure on them next turn. We will block with Gordon. Then they're going to swing 7,000 with their Vanderdecken, and I am going to 2k counter and block out of that with the Monkey D. Luffy. I think that's the move here. Nami's going to help me replenish my hand, so I think that was the right play. I'm going to do a 6,000 power swing with Nami now, and that was maybe a mistake. Maybe I should have just swung 5,000 and searched with her because I'm going to have to rest the Don, and then off the search, I could have taken the 9-cost Shanks. Playing out the 9-cost Shanks then to get rid of their Luffy would have been huge for us. I don't know if it would have been enough to win us the game, because if they have a Dead Man's Game and they're able to rest both of our Luffy blockers, that can get awkward. So I might just have to go all in here and go for lethal. That's what I think I'm going to do. I do have the I'm Invincible in my hand. They are going to take that first 6,000 swing, now a 6,000 with Uta they'll counter out of. They'll take a 7,000 from Luffy. They'll take another 7,000 from Luffy. And do I have it, or are they baiting me, folks? We're going to do 9,000 now, and I think this should be game. And yes, we didn't even have to use the I'm Invincible. GG's. That was a close one towards the end. I feel like they probably should have emphasized their leader ability a little bit more just to keep up the pressure. But that was a close one. Zanji is definitely a solid deck in OP13, so stay safe out there, y'all. I'll be on the lookout for it. Our next matchup is going to be against a red-black Sabo, a leader that is very much overlooked in OP13. I definitely don't think he's as strong as the big 3 of Ace Imuzuro, but he's definitely a really strong deck, especially when they see the pieces they need. The deck really performs well when it goes second, so I had to steal the even curve from them. We have 2 Don, but I'm not going to play out the Gordon blocker right now. They could probably play a hack later and then pop it. I don't really just feel like there's much value in playing a Gordon out now. Same thing with the new Genesis. I can wait to play that out until I actually feel like the moment's right. They're going to do a Garp search. Off the Garp, they will find Dragon, the OP12 version. Then they're going to use the stage, trash a Waxing Fist, and then draw a Sabo. Then they'll just swing 6,000 into our life. We are going to take this, no doubt. Off of it, we do get the 4-6 starter deck 16 Uta blocker. Now I'm going to start out with the new Genesis search. I'm leaning towards taking the 2k counter Luffy there, but taking an I'm Invincible maybe would have been a good idea too. I just feel like I'm going to need the counter once they start going wide, but maybe I should have taken that I'm Invincible. We've got another new Genesis search to do, and this time I'm going to take the 4-cost Zoro. I'm going to be able to play that out this turn if I want, and then restand to Don, or maybe I just swing 6,000 with Leader and play out the Nami. You know I love establishing that Nami early on in the game to do a ton of card draw. We are going to swing 6,000, which they'll take. We'll play out the Nami. Off of our Leader ability, we drew the 2k counter Sanji, which is huge for us. I definitely am already regretting not taking that I'm Invincible. Maybe I should have, but we'll see. We'll see what happens and how the game ends. Maybe I'll regret it. Maybe I won't. They're going to use a Bello Betty search right away, finding the stage. They'll probably just trash the stage off of their current stage, so they just really needed to find something to trash, I guess. 4 Don left up for them still. Off of their stage search, they're going to find a OP05 Bello Betty. They're really just cycling cards in a circle. 4 Don left up for them still to work with. They're going to play out the Bello Betty Searcher that they just found. Off the Bello Betty Searcher, they're going to find the OP12 Hack, which is really strong, of course, and will be very strong against us. A lot of our bodies are cost 4 and less, so next turn, if they play it out, they'll get a lot of value from it. They're going to swing 7,000 now with their leader into our life. This is another take. We find that 9-cost Shanks, which is going to be really strong in this matchup. Definitely want to see that to get some of their bodies turned sideways and then pop them using the Shanks. Then they'll pass it back to us with 6 Don to work with. We are going to start out by doing a new Genesis search. Off the new Genesis here, I've got a couple of great options. They're all great options. I can go with the 2k counter. I can go with the 4-cost Uta. I could also go with the I'm Invincible. I'm leaning towards the Uta just because if she dies, I can cheat out another body. So yeah, I feel like I couldn't have gone wrong anyway there. We're going to search right away or do a swing with Nami that allows us to do a search. We'll take another 2k counter, this time the Helmeppo, 5,000 and a 4,000. I imagine they take this for the most part. Sabos do usually like to get down to 3 life as soon as possible. They'll counter out of that though. because they know they're probably going to have to take another swing from my leader. So now we're going to do 6,000 into 4,000. We top deck a 2k counter from leader ability, which is crazy. We're going to play out the Uta to restand 2 Don. Then we're going to play out the Gordon blocker, even though the Gordon blocker can be dealt with pretty easily. They're going to be at 7 Don here. They will have that 6 cost Sabo secret rare from OP13. That is so strong, especially in this deck, of course. It's amazing when they see it on 6 Don. On 7 Don, still good, but of course they'd rather see it on 6 when they have the chance to. They're going to use stage to do a little card cycle, finding the OP7 Monkey D Dragon. That is the rush one. I got to keep that in the back of my mind. Their leader is currently at 8,000 power between the leader ability and the 2 Don, so I do have to be a little bit careful. They'll probably swing into my Nami here, and I'm going to block with Gordon because I want to keep getting that card draw with Nami. 8 Don for us to work with here. I'm thinking 7 cost Luffy into another 4 cost Utsa could be the move. That seems like a good play to me. Let me know if you disagree in the comments. Off of Uta, we restand 2 Don. Now I'm going to do a 6,000 power swing with Nami, and I'll be able to do a card draw off of her. I guess first I'll do a swing with our Uta, 6,000 into their leader. We draw another 4 cost Uta into our hand. I really like how big of a hand size we've got going on right now. 6,000 into 6,000. If they free block with this, I probably don't swing with Nami, because they're just going to be able to free block it with the Sabo, but they don't. I'm going to swing with Nami anyway. This does feel kind of bad because they can just block it with their Sabo blocker, but I think it's worth it to draw that extra 2k counter. We just bottom deck 2 Dead Man's Games, which feels bad, and then we'll pass it to them. 9 Don for them to work with here, an 8 cost Dragon, whether it's the OP12 one or the OP07 one, either of them would be really strong here, but we've got this 9 cost Shanks coming up potentially next turn, and once we drop that, it's going to be tough for them to deal with, unless they run Stussy, which they probably do. So then it might be easy for them to deal with, but we'll see. If we can keep that Shanks on the board, it'll be a huge help, but you never know. Don't want to get ahead of myself. For 8 Don, they're going to play out the OP12 Dragon, and then off the Dragon, they'll cheat out another 6 cost Sabo. This is where things get awkward, folks, when they just start cheating out all these bodies and the blockers. Very strong blockers. It's just so hard to get around them. We'll see. I'm not feeling super confident about this game. I mean, we do have a ton of cards in our hand, but it's just going to be hard to actually hit them. They're going to be a 6k base leader and then have these 8,000 power blockers. That makes things a little bit awkward, folks. They're going to swing 9,000 with their leader into our Nami, and I'm just going to let that go. I don't think it's worth saving. We're going to have to give her a lot of Don in order for her to actually reach their leader, so might as well just let her go. Don't want to give up all the counter in my hand for her. They're going to swing now 8,000 with their Sabo blocker. This I will block in 2k, blocking with the 7 cost 7,000 power Luffy blocker, and then 2k countered out of that. We're going to start off with a 6,000 power leader swing. We do get New Genesis off of that, which is pretty decent. That'll help us do another search to maybe find more 9 cost Shanks. They are going to counter out of that 6,000 power leader swing. They're not going to free block, which is great for us. Off the New Genesis, we find another Shanks. Let's go. And then here, I'm thinking we play out the 9 cost Shanks. It doesn't feel amazing to pop the 6 cost Sabo as opposed to the 8 cost Dragon, but I think establishing that big body is our best bet this turn. Hopefully they don't have a Stussy. They can bring that Sabo back using Dragon, so there are definitely some downsides to that play, but I think it was worth it. They're going to start off playing the Bello Betty from OP05, doing a search, and they will find an 8 cost Dragon. Off this 8 cost Dragon, they'll be able to bring that Sabo right back, but at least we established this 9 cost Shanks. That's going to be able to put a lot of pressure on them, so I still think it was worth it. You can roast me in the comments down below if you disagree, though. Maybe there was a better play that I just didn't see. Maybe I should have just thrown a bunch of Don on my characters and swung at their leader. 9,000 into our life with their leader. This I will take. We get the 5 cost 7,000 power Sanji. No counter on that, which is a little bit of a bummer. Now they're going to swing 9,000 with Dragon, and I'm going to 2k, 1k block with the Luffy to get out of that. They can swing with this other Sabo. They will. 8,000 into 5,000. Our counter cards are leaving our hand really fast, folks. We're going to counter out of that too. Good thing we have such a big hand size. Just trying to keep my life as healthy as possible. They've really established a pretty menacing board. I'm going to try to deal with it just because I need to get some cards out of their hand. There's no point of me swinging into their life right now, I feel like, just because I'm not going to be able to go for game, and that's just going to give them more cards for them to use to protect their characters. I'm going to start off with an 11,000 power swing into their 8,000 power Sabo blocker. We get counter out of their hand, which is cool with us. I would have loved that Sabo to have gone, but at least we're getting counter out of their hand. We still have 9 down to work with, so it might be another Shanks turn. I think that could be the move. I also don't think establishing more blockers is a terrible idea either. I'll swing 6,000 into their life. They could free block this, and they will. We do draw the I'm Invincible off of leader ability though, which is perfect. We're going to play down the 9 Shanks to pop one of their dragons and pass it back to them. Only having one blocker on the field right now is a little bit scary, so I might have to address that next turn, but it is what it is. We've got a couple big bodies. Hopefully they don't have a Stussy. If they don't have a Stussy, then we might be in a decent spot. They're going to go with the 8-cost dragon. They did trash Goldie Roger off of leader ability, or not leader ability, their stage, which is interesting. Then they're going to give a ton of Don to their leader, and they're going to be able to apply so much pressure this turn. They honestly might be able to win the game if they go all in. I mean, we do have a decent amount of counter in hand, but they're going to have 4 or 5 really big swings. They're going to start off with a 10,000 power swing. This, I guess, do I just take it, folks? I don't know. Let me know in the comments down below. I guess maybe I take these swings from their not blockers and then bait them to swing with their blockers, and then we win on the clapback, potentially. We're going to take that first 10,000 power swing. Now another 10,000 power swing. This I should have countered out of, but I was a little bit greedy. I take that. Now they're going to swing 10,000 again, which I am going to block and then counter. And this is so greedy, folks. I actually realize I don't have enough to get out of all the attacks if they swing with both Sabos. And they're going to swing with their first Sabo now. I'm going to 2K or 1K, 1K, 1K out of that. And now I'm like, oh my God, if they swing with this last Sabo, I lose. And I was greedy. And for what? I'm so angry at myself. This is the moment of truth, though. They decide not to swing with the Sabo. And I think that's just going to win me the game, folks. We'll see. I mean, they still have 1 Don up. They have 3 cards in hand, 3 life cards, and a blocker. This is by no means guaranteed. But we'll see how we can do. We have to win here because, yeah, we just have to. Hypothetically, I could block her up, but I imagine that they'd have ways to get around it. And they just have so many swings. They're going to counter out of that swing now 7,000 with Luffy into 6,000. Are they going to have the event? They're going to block that for free with Sabo. Now I'm just going to have 3 swings or 4 swings left, folks. A 10,000 with Uta. I'm going to have another 10,000 with Uta using I'm Invincible. Then we're going to have our Shank swings. Let's see. They are going to be able to get out of that first 10,000 power swing, but that means the second one will hit, and I think that's just game. They're going to have to take 10,000. Now 11,000. If they have all 2Ks here, they win, but the moment of truth, they did not have all 2Ks. So GG's, that was a crazy finish. If only they swung with that Sabo, they would have won. So yeah, that was a really fun one, folks. GG's to my opponent. On to the next one. Now we've got a game against OP13 Roger, a really strong leader, not quite the top tier yet, just because he's missing the 8-cost promo Roger that I think we get in December or now January, apparently. I think it's still valid on the sim though, so hopefully they're running that. I want to see this deck at its best. We'll see though. 3 Don for us to work with. I'm going to start out with the new Genesis. I don't really like any of the plays I have right now. I was hoping to find a Nami, but we do take that 5-cost Sanji. That'll be a very nice play next turn. I'm going to start off with the 5,000 power swing. Then I'm just going to play out Katakuri and then pass it back to them. They have to throw 1 down on their leader, of course, 2 down on their leader. They're going to swing 7,000 at us, which we will definitely take. No way I'm giving them a 2K, 1K this early on in the game. Off of our life, we get I'm Invincible, which of course we don't need right now, but I'll be happy to have that later on in the game. 5 Don for us to work with. They did play out that buggy to ramp a Don. I got to keep that in mind. Roger is able to ramp pretty fast, which can be quite dangerous if they see the pieces they need. I'm going to go with the 5-cost Sanji here. Restanding 2 Don. I'm then going to go with a new Genesis Search. I'll take the Helmeppo 2K counter, and then I'm going to give a Don to my leader and swing 6,000 into them. Top decking another 2K is pretty rad. 6,000 into 5,000. They'll take that and go down to 3 life. Then I'm going to swing 5,000 with our Katakuri. Unfortunately, he did not get the bump because we did not have, I believe it's 6 rested cards. So that's definitely a bummer. He's a little bit vulnerable now. Maybe I should have kept him upright. I don't know. We did get a 2K out of hand at least, so that's good news for us. They're going to have another buggy to ramp with, and they're going to swing 10,000 into the Katakuri. I will certainly let him go. I am okay with the way that turn went down, I guess. We're going to start off by playing down the 4-cost Uta, restanding 2 Don. I might play 2 of those this turn. That could be pretty cool. I could also play out the 4-cost Zoro. That allows me to restand Don as well. I think establishing a pretty wide board might be the move. It will be the move for now, but then later on in the game, these cards won't be as helpful because, of course, they can't swing into the 7,000 power base that Roger will be at. It's going to involve a lot of Don, and yeah, that's not going to feel great. But for now, in the early stages of the game, I think it's good to go a little bit wider. They're going to counter out of my 6,000 power swing, and then they'll take the 9,000 power Sanji swing. We did top deck a Nami using leader ability. They're going to play down the 9 cost Newgate to power up their leader, and now it's a 10,000 power or a 9,000 power base. We are going to counter out of that to keep our Sanji alive. He's going to be one of our main attackers moving forward, and so I want to keep him alive to the best of my ability. We're at 9 down. We could play the Shanks, but we're not going to be able to hit anything, so I think this is just going to be a searching, gathering resources turn. We're going to play down Nami, do a search with her. Then I can just throw a bunch of down on my leader, swing big, and then I'll be able to not take the top card of my life because it was a dead man's game. One of the few cards in our list that is not a film type card, so we're not able to add that to our hand. We have to bottom deck it. They're going to play down the 10 cost Rush Shanks, and now things are going to get a little bit awkward. I'm going to counter out of that 7,000 power leader swing because I'm going to have to take the 10,000 power Newgate swing, then the 12,000 power Shanks swing. We're down to 2 life. That happened pretty fast, but with the Shanks being rested, we're able to pop it with our Shanks, which is great news. I'll swing 6,000 with leader just to do the leader ability, even though it can't hit. And then I'll swing 7,000 with Sanji, which they will take, which surprises me a little bit. I do have to be careful. I don't have any blockers on the board right now, but if I do want to block her up, Roger, of course, plays that secret rare red Roger card that'll end the game if I try to use a blocker if one of us are at 0 life card, so I have to be aware about that. They're going to swing 8,000 into life. I will take that. Now 10,000 into Sanji. I'm going to 2k counter out of that. Definitely wanted to keep this Sanji alive so I can put a ton of pressure on them. I might be able to go for game here. This might be a little bit crazy, but I think it's definitely the move. They're going to counter out of the 7,000 power swing. They take the Shanks swing, and now I'm just going to have 2 big swings with I'm Invincible. Here goes nothing, folks, and before I can even do it, they concede. They were bricked. But they would have won next turn probably, so good thing I ended the game there. GG's, that one went actually faster than I expected. That went well for us. On to our next one, and our final match of the day. This is going to be against a Emu, and I do not have high hopes for this matchup. Regardless of what deck I'm playing, I feel like Emu is just such a strong leader. Don't get me wrong, I can steal my wins from them, but at the same time, Emu is just one of the best decks this game has ever had, and yeah, I mean, especially when you're playing an off-meta deck, Emu can be tough. You never know, though. Let's see if Green Uta has the sauce. We're going to be on the even curve. I don't have anything to do turn 1, so I'll pass it back to them. I'm going to turn up the speed on this game a little bit just because Emu players can sometimes take their time. I mean, I understand it's a complex deck that you really need to think about, but for the sake of the video, I'm going to turn up the speed a little bit. They're going to swing 6,000 into us, which I'll take. I'll start out with a new Genesis Search. I'm going to take the Sanji 2k counter. There's not really much of a question about that, just because at a certain point, relatively early on into the game, all of their characters cannot be KO'd by effects, so there's no point in taking that 9 cost Sanji. I mean, 9 cost Shanks, except for maybe establishing a big body, but I don't think that's going to be enough to win this game. We're going to swing 6,000 into them, which they'll counter out of, and then I'll play down the 3 cost Katakuri. With Stage, they're able to cheat out Workury, then they're going to swing 5,000 into our life, and I am going to counter out of this. I think maybe I should protect my life a little bit. I don't know. I don't know much about this matchup, to be honest, and I just feel like I should protect my life because before I know it, they're going to be able to flood the board. This is a very good card to find in this matchup, the 4 cost Uta. Uta's ability on KO allows me to cheat out a cost 5 or less character from my hand, so if they use one of their cards to pop Uta, then we get to cheat out another body in her place, which is amazing news. That's why I didn't play down the 5 cost 7,000 power Sanji instead. I'm going to swing 6,000 with leader. They are going to counter out of that. I'm going to use an I'm Invincible, which this might have been too early. This is definitely too early to play an I'm Invincible, but I just thought, what if I pressure them down really fast and then set myself up for success? I don't know. You'll probably roast me in the comments down below for using that I'm Invincible so early, and I get it. I hear you, and I understand where I went wrong. 7 Don for them to work with here. They'll tap Stage to play out Noose Juro, Then they still have 4 Don to work with. They're going to swing 6,000 with Workury into our Katakuri. We'll 2k counter out of that. Then they're going to swing 6,000 with their leader in the Katakuri. I am going to counter out of that. That is maybe a little bit crazy. I'm being crazy here, folks. Whoa, look at me. No, I'm being silly. I'm just thinking that I should put as much pressure on them as possible, and this seems like the best way to do it. You can let me know in the comments down below if this is not the strategy you agree with. I'm just trying to try something new out so that I can beat one of the best decks in the game. We're going to play out the 5-cost Sanji, restanding 2 Don. We're going to swing 5,000 with our Uta character. They will counter out of that. We can now play down the other 4-cost Uta character I had in my hand and restand 2 more Don. I'll swing 6,000 into their life, or I should swing 7,000, I guess. I could do 7-7. I'll do 7,000 first with Katakuri, then I'll do 7,000 with our Uta leader. The 7,000 with Katakuri, they will use their counter event to get out of. Now I'm going to do 7,000, and we top deck another Dead Man's Game. That is crazy. That just happened to us, and it happens to us again. I don't even really like including non-film cards in Uta, but at the same time, Dead Man's Game is just too strong not to include, so it's worth the risk to me. They're going to start off swinging 6,000 with Nusturo into our Katakuri. Now we do have 2k counters in our hand, but I do have to be kind of mindful of how many swings they could potentially have this turn, so this is a little bit of a tricky situation. I'll give up the 2k counter though and make things awkward for them. Then they'll play out the Saturn, doing a little search. They find the Jupiter. That turns all their 5 Elders cards base power into 7,000, which once they get that on the field towards the end of the game, you're going to lose pretty soon unless you're in a really good spot. Then they're going to play out the Mars. Off of Mars, they're going to be able to pop our Sanji. I saw that one coming, folks, but there's nothing we can do about it. Then they're probably going to swing with Leader, probably not going to swing with Workury. If they do swing with Workury, though, we might be able to actually win. But it'll be interesting to see what they do here, or if they want to give a Don to their leader and swing into Katakuri. They won't. They'll swing into our life. We just get the Gordon blocker, which isn't too amazing in this matchup. Here, if only I had a Dead Man's Game to get rid of that Workury, I think we just go all in. And it's kind of like sketchy to go all in, but I feel like that's our best bet. Just ignore their board, pressure their life as much as possible. They're going to block out of that first 6,000 power swing. Now a second 6,000 power swing with our other Uta character. Do they have a 2K? Do they have a event? They are going to block with Mars. Now, this is an interesting spot for us to be in. Does it make sense to play out like the 5-cost Sanji at all? It could just get popped again, but we couldn't go for game anyway. Maybe I should have put more pressure on to potentially get them down to 0 life. We do have that I'm Invincible in our hand, of course. This is where it's really going to matter when you're playing against Emu folks, these turns where you have to decide, do I want to put them down to 0? Do I want to maybe set myself up for the next turn after that? They'll take the 6,000 power swing into life. Now I'm going to swing 8,000 with Katakuri. Now there is something to be said about potentially swinging 10,000 with Katakuri and not playing down the Gordon blocker. That's a definitely a thing that could be discussed, you know, like swinging 10 at them. Maybe they don't have the counter in their hand. Of course they did have that event, but they would have still needed 2k more of counter, and I would have put them to 0. This Gordon, though, will help me keep some of my bodies alive, and I think that might be worth it going into this next turn. They're going to start off with a 6,000 power swing into our Katakuri, and then using the ability, give Katakuri minus 2,000 power, so now he's only a 4,000 power character. I'm just going to have to let him go here. I want to keep the counter in my hand, like the 4-cost Sanji, in case they pop one of my Uta characters. I can then cheat out that Sanji. Now they're going to swing 7,000 into one of our rested Uta characters. I am going to block this because I do want the Uta to stay alive as long as possible, even though I can cheat out a body off of Uta. It's definitely going to die one way or another, and I want to make sure I have the cards in hand to really maximize the value I get from it. Here comes down the 10 Elders, which they're able to cheat out using Stage, which is absolutely insane. And at this point, I'm going to turn up the speed a little bit more on this playback, just because this is the beginning of the end for me. They're going to find a Saturn off of their search. They're going to pop Sanji, and then they're going to have the chance to clear both Utas, but I can cheat out a body off of each. Now they're going to swing 5,000 first, and with this, I can just counter. I don't know if it really makes a difference between countering and letting it go and cheating out another body. Countering is actually definitely the better play, because if I played out a different body, they could have swung into that body. But they'll clear that Uta. I'll play out the Sanji, and now we've got 4 swings. Unfortunately, they do have 2 blockers, 3 down up. I don't think there is any chance we win this, folks. I'm going to start off with a 9,000 power swing into their life using our leader. They're going to be able to draw a card off of that block, which is a bummer. Now we can use I'm Invincible. The reason I'm doing that and in kind of a weird order is so that we can maximize the Sanji swing, because with his ability, he gets powered up by the amount of rested down cards. So that's why I had to do it in that order, but that's definitely not ideal. I'll swing 6,000 now with our Uta character. 6,000 into 5,000. No way they can't get out of this, and they will. They'll have 2 1Ks. And then this is kind of where I fumbled the game. Not that I was in a position to really fumble it, but I definitely threw it after this point. I think at least. I don't swing with my Sanji just because I was like, oh, they're just going to block with Mars and then resummon the Mars anyway. But I should have done that at least, because I could have put them to 0. I'm not sure if I'd be able to finish them off when they're at 0 this next turn. Probably not, just because they're going to be able to cheat out blockers if they have the 10 drop or if they just keep Mars up. But more of the story is I played that poorly. I think I've played this entire game poorly. They're swinging 7,000 into our Uta 4 drop. That's 5,000 power. If I let her go and cheat out another body off of her, they're just going to clear that body too. I decide just to try an infinite Uta glitch, so I'll play out another Uta off of her. Then that Uta dies. I'm like, there's no point in even playing out another character. Why did I even bother playing that Uta to begin with? Now they're going to swing 7,000 into our life. We have to take this, of course. Another 7,000 for us to take again. It would be great if we top deck a Dead Man's Game and then an I'm Invincible, something like that. Then there's actually a chance we could win. There really is. But alas, we do not. They're going to swing 7,000 now with a Nosturo that they just happen to have in their hand, and they can just go for game here with their leader. But they won't. They're going to use Stage and cheat out the 10 Elders. Yeah, I mean, they could have just won with Big Swing into our life, but they're playing it safe, which I totally get. They're going to do the 10 cost shenanigan all over again, bringing out all these bodies. Oh my god, folks. Are you liking Emu in OP13? Be honest. I won't judge you if you say yes. I won't judge you if you say no. I would just love to hear your reasoning. It's just such a strong deck. Now they're going to swing 7,000 at us. We can get out of this, and then they're going to win with a 5,000 power leader swing. GG's. That was a tough one, folks.
Ladies and gentlemen, those are the games I got for you today. What did you think about them? That Emu matchup at the end was quite rough, but it is what it is. Emu is just such a strong leader, and I definitely just played that poorly as well. When you're playing against an Emu, you probably don't have much room for mistakes. It is what it is. The other games, though, I think they were really fun. I think they were really entertaining to watch. So hopefully you got entertainment from them. If you made it this far in the video, you probably did. Let me know in the comments down below if you made it this far, because it's always amazing to hear and see how long people are watching for. All right, with that being said, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day. This has been a Johnny TCG production. Peace.